Hello, communists and housewives. It's Sister Unity on day 2 of the media frenzy resulting from the LA Dodgers offering the Sisters of Perpetual Indulgence a Community Hero Award. Senator Marco Rubio excoriating the Dodgers for associating with a diabolical, anti-Catholic, what are the other words they used? Naughty group of drag nuns. And then the LA Dodgers revoking the Community Hero Award, which then resulted in the LGBT community revoking their participation in the Dodgers' very important annual Pride Night, which they've run for the last 10 years and done very, very well. LA Pride has been their partner in creating Pride Night, and LA Pride pulled out. And you can find all the statements on social media and online from these organizations about why they pulled out. LA Pride pulled out. The Los Angeles Gay and Lesbian Center pulled out. A big participant in creating Pride Night. The ACLU has denounced the LA Dodgers and made a really interesting point. They reminded the Dodgers that the Dodgers in the 1950s were the first Major League Baseball organization to sign a player who was black, Jackie Robinson. The Dodgers broke ground. And decades later, they are balking at embracing my community, the LGBT community, instead of being the vanguard that they were in the 50s over race. Oh, well, I thought it was such a keen point. I mean, the ACLU are crackerjack. I trust a lawyer to be able to wield words and ideas like a Benihana chef uses a knife. So I want to express, certainly on my behalf, and the Sisters as an organization will release a statement as well saying this, but I know the other sisters feel the same way. Immense gratitude for your support. Thank you to the ACLU. Thank you to the Los Angeles LGBT Center. Thank you to LA Pride. Thank you to Gym Bar, a LGBT sports bar located in West Hollywood, whose entire staff and management have been behind us since the very beginning. They have connections to the Dodgers. They've been phoning them and excoriating them with why this is an important moment not to retreat from. I'd like to also take a moment and thank the reporters, NBC4, KTLA 5, Channel 11, Channel 9, the Los Angeles Times, 5 different reporters from the Times, the Advocate magazine, Rolling Stone magazine, KNX radio, and I'm sorry, I'm forgetting their call letters, but there's a station in San Francisco that interviewed me last night. And any of the others, if I've missed you, I'm sorry. You can remind me in the comments. Thank you so much for taking the time to cover a gaggle of flamboyant, preposterous drag nuns. Our work means so much to us, and the opportunity to dress silly and do that work makes us feel so alive. We really connect to our own selves by doing this funny thing. And so your taking us seriously is an honor, and we thank you for your sincerity in your reporting and in the way that you have communicated with us. I also want to thank the thousands of drag queens, LGBT people, and allied straight and bi and all sorts of other people who on social media have poured out their anger, their support, and in this way, their love. We work in the streets and we work with people on the streets, and it's pretty one-on-one. And, we're not the thing that you talk about at the water cooler at work. TV gets that honor. So we never get a lot of feedback about our impact. We get thank you notes from the charities for whom we write checks, but we don't get a lot of firsthand knowledge of how we impact people in the community. And to see the amount of comments and support in the last 24 hours has reflected back to us a surprise. We didn't know that so many of you saw us volunteering and working in our colorful little habits. Thank you, thank you, thank you for raising your voices. We have learned that the LA Times had an article saying that the Dodgers are hoping for compromise and finding some solution. So apparently the door is not entirely closed, I guess. Take that, Marco Rubio. We'll see. We'll see. I'm hopeful that this is, as Prop 8 was in our history, that this is a moment when society has a learning as a lesson, when they remember that inclusivity means balancing between the outraged people over there and the outraged people over there, but that you can hold all parties, even if sometimes one of them has to be disappointed. It was us. It may be the Catholic League, the organization that has a phone tree that phone banked the Dodgers, and they had like hundreds of people calling and yelling at the Dodgers representatives. Yeesh. No one likes to be harassed. But that's apparently it overwhelmed the Dodgers management, and I suppose it freaked them out. If this is true, I suppose that is understandable why they had a quick knee-jerk reaction. May calmer heads prevail. In their statement, the LA Dodgers spoke of unity. They referred to their revocation of the award they meant to give us as creating unity in the community. And I think what they meant was that they heard the voices of the Catholics who were offended. And they were wanting to welcome the Catholics in the Dodgers community and honor them as part of the community. And by being sensitive to their concerns, they revoked the award as a way of creating a unity with them. What they didn't quite understand is the depths and degree to which it created a disunity with the LGBT community. I don't know. Can someone tell me in the comments somewhere how many Catholics are there in the United States and how many LGBT people are in the United States? I suppose with, since we do include bisexual people, that's an awful lot. I mean, bisexuality, the medical science shows that a majority of Americans, I haven't eaten since 3 p.m. A majority of Americans are bisexual. Dr. Kinsey's report showed it. So how do you balance these large groups of people? Well, you can't always balance them. Sometimes you have to teach one or the other. Sometimes you balance them by teaching them what's acceptable. When I was in eighth grade, I was at school in Massachusetts. Massachusetts is populated, or was when I was in junior high school, by a lot of Irish Catholic and Italian Catholic families. And the sons of these families and the daughters of these families, I was at school with them, and I was never interested in athleticism. I was afraid of getting hurt, and the physicality of it makes my body tired. I wanted to stay inside and read books and read comic books and put on funny outfits and play with my little weird rubber toys. Children's toys. Like I had a fish and an octopus and a squiggly wizard, and you understand. So I didn't share this in common. And, to be honest, yeah, I was gay. And no one told me to acculturate myself along masculine norms. I didn't know you weren't supposed to carry your books like this. You're supposed to carry them like this under your arm. Like that was a thing in the mid-70s. And so I remember one person in 6th grade, 7th grade was changing classes, and they taped a piece of paper to my back and it said fag. I found it pretty quickly. I'm not stupid. And okay, that's arguable, but I wasn't so stupid then. So it went like that, the usual harassment, which I'm sure some of them may have thought it was teasing. And when I was in the 8th grade, there was this moment. Now, our classrooms, the middle school was over here, and the high school was over here, and there was a sports fields in between. You had to walk across them to get to the cafeteria, which was on the high school campus. Now, this school, my mother was a teacher at this school. She taught Shakespeare, English literature, public speaking, um, and theater, rhetoric. Um, and I had been around this school and its campus since I had been 5 years old when she got the job. And I had explored, I mean, it was an old school, it's an old private school, and it had like an 18th century brick building with towers and a bell tower. And, that was like Lord of the Rings for me. And I crawled over every inch of that. Uh, and I knew all of the faculty and they knew all of me. They were my mother's friends. They'd known me since I was 5 years old. And so when I was 13, 12 or 13, I was in eighth grade. I think I was 13. I was in eighth grade. Um, and I was walking across the field from lunch, and there were these three seventh graders, all blonde, good looking, athletic types. And I don't know if they had been waiting for me, if they just saw me. I was like the last person coming back to class. The light is giving me these little divots here, like plastic surgery. If you're a plastic surgeon who doesn't need to cut anything and can do this for me, just let me know. And they saw me and they took their chance and they ran at me and it was scary. Like, oh crap, they're coming to attack me. And I dropped into a ball with my hands over my head. I just curled up into a ball on the ground. And they didn't kick me or hit and punch me. They kind of ran around me and kind of like thumped me on the back a couple times. It wasn't bloody violent. It was just violent. And it was humiliating. You may not think that because I didn't break anything or bleed, I wasn't beaten and therefore wasn't truly hurt. But to have anyone make you a target hurts emotionally. Now in New England, we're supposed to be winter tough, and you're supposed to let that roll off of you. But we were also kids, and kids are sensitive, and it hurt. Now, I didn't know it hurt for a while. I picked myself up. I had grassy, dirty knees from dropping to the ground. I went in my tan corduroys. My mother always bought me tan, brown, or dark blue corduroys. Like, that was my wardrobe for like 10 years of my childhood. And I went back in and I had class with Mr. Badger. Don Badger. If you're still around and you get wind of this video, Mr. Badger, I must tell you how much of an inspiration you always were and how grateful I am to you for your strength and your compassion. He was cool. He was, that teacher at school, like the cool one, usually like in their 30s, good looking. Yeah, that was him. And he taught us history. And he did it in a way that was fun and fascinating, and so everyone looked up to him. So he was my homeroom teacher, and we all went back in. I don't know if it was for history class or homeroom, but I had him for both. And we went in, we sat, and I was sitting in the middle of the room at my desk, and he looks at me, and I'm disheveled, and he says, "What happened? You okay?" And I couldn't speak because all of what I was feeling was so big in me, but New England, a kid, you're not connected to your emotions all the time, at least not in those days. And so I didn't know what I was feeling and I didn't know what to say. And he said, he could see I was in distress. And he said, "You want to come up here, come up to my desk." He wanted to maybe let me talk to him where others couldn't hear, wasn't public. A grace. So I went up to his desk, and he said, "What happened?" And as I started to tell the story, I just opened my mouth and it all flooded out like a dam that had broken. And I wept right there in the head of the class, right in front of Mr. Badger. I wept. Couldn't help it. Crying is the best way to relieve that kind of intensity and stress. So if your moment comes to cry something out that's happened to you, you take it and you cry and be proud of it. He took me, put his arm around me, and took me out into another empty room across the hall where I wasn't on display before the class, and it all poured out what had happened, that I'd been attacked. And he let me sit and just clean myself up and settle myself and take care of myself. "Do you take as long as you need?" I went back into the classroom and life went on. We had a dance the next day. It was a Friday. It was happening on a Thursday, happened on a Friday. There was a school dance and went to the dance. And one of the kids who had attacked me uh, sort of danced over close to where I was sitting with my friend Eric. And Eric, if you remember this, I have to thank you too for being the best friend you could ask for at that time in my life. And he came over and he says, "Hey, I heard you cried." And I was just sitting there seething, and I was not quick on the draw. And my friend Eric spoke up. He was like, "You would have too if it had been 3-on-1 odds," which it was. I think I danced away, seeing that I had a protector. Well, I left the dance early, and I went home. Next, it was I think Saturday, and I was with my friend Louis, and Louis and I were having a great friendship over comic books, and we were sitting at our kitchen table, my mom's kitchen table, and was it Louis who told me? Yeah, I think it was Louis. He started to tell me what had happened after I'd left the dance. He said after the dance ended, everyone went outside, and the entire eighth grade surrounded the three boys who had attacked me and told them in no uncertain terms to leave me alone, and that those kinds of odds, 3-on-1, were not fair. I was flabbergasted. I knew I was weird and different since early elementary school. And if anyone ever had the temerity to say, "You're weird," I'd be like, "Thank you." Because I knew it made me special and I loved my creativity. I loved who I was. I loved the things that came out of me when I drawing a picture or writing a story or making things up. I loved that. So it was good that they knew I was weird. I honor that. But no one had ever stood up for me for being the way I was. No one had ever said, "We know you are you, and we support it enough to defend you." And here was the entire eighth grade class doing exactly that. It was a watershed moment for my self confidence. And all of the shyness and the timidness that I had had about being a target in junior high school swept away in this one gesture. I am told that other teachers had opportunities to encounter several of the boys who attacked me and let them know what uneven odds was like experientially. I won't mention any names. It's all past now. Probably they're deceased. One of them went outraged, went to the principal of the whole school to complain, only to find that the principal, who had known me since I was 5 years old, didn't think much of bullying. From that moment on, I never regretted who I was or how I was. I had a moment in high school when I was staring at this one, the most beautiful male form I have ever seen since. Uh, we were in the gym in the locker room, and this was a high school, and I went to a different high school. My mom was a teacher at the high school where she worked, and she was like, she had taught my sister English, and she was like, "There is no way I'm teaching another one of my children ever." So I got to go to another school. Um, and just to be clear, it was a private school, but my parents were divorced early, and my mom, a single mother in the 70s, women couldn't have credit cards until 1972. Like, how did they make their way in the world? So she geared her career to teach at a private school so that her children could get the best education she could arrange for them, because faculty children go to a private school for free. It's one of the perks of being a faculty member. And that's what my mother did for my sister and for me. Well, I went to this other private school because my best friend's father was the business manager of our school, and the other school had a faculty child that wanted to go to our school. So my best friend's father called up the business manager of the other academy, and they swapped faculty children, and I got to go for 4 years to a school that fit me to a T. It was perfect for me artistically, intellectually. I really was allowed to blossom at this school. And I remember the first day I was there, I remember getting the lay of the land and then waiting for my mom to pick me up and leaning against one of the fences of the school and thinking, nobody in the school knows me. Nobody knows any of the stigmas that I was painted with. I can start all over again and write whatever story I want. And I'm gonna. That incident when the 8th grade class and the teachers of my school stood up for me gave me that confidence that I took to the new school and have taken with me ever since, and tried to give back in my videos to you. Why am I going on about this 8th grade story? Because that's what it has felt like. You are today's 8th grade for us in the Los Angeles Sisters of Perpetual Indulgence. And the LA Dodgers need to know, and Marco Rubio needs to know, and the Catholic League needs to know that we're not freaks out here on our own, that you can just hit like a tin can off a fence. We are part of a large community, some of whom are even part of your church. Sister Rhoda Kill, Catholic. We are tied together and we've got each other's backs. And to everyone watching this video, this is what we must always do as Americans, as LGBT, as whatever pocket we fit into with other people. We must always stand up and speak when anyone of that group is attacked by bullies or selfish people or powerful people looking to cement their power or cruel people looking to exercise their thrill joys through cruelty. Every one of us must stand up and speak, because when you do, even if you don't see other people doing it, when you do it, you become one of the 8th grade. And you encourage other people to do it too. Oh, he's doing it. Oh, well, that does look like the right thing to do. I can do that. Avalanche of support. That, my dear LA Dodgers, venerated senator, and esteemed spiritual colleagues, that is unity. This unity sure looks different. I look pretty queer. But if you'd like to sit down and talk with me, I will explain to you that the Sisters of Perpetual Indulgence are not anti-Catholic. We love Pope Francis. He has made more common sense about honoring people for who they are and how God made them than any pope we can remember in recent history. To be against Catholics would be to be against people, and we're not against people, we uplift people. We, others, may have critiques of particular behaviors of particular organizations. Some of these have been earned by the Catholic Church, by the Pentecostal Church, the evangelical churches have certainly earned critiques in this day and age. That's just another way of people who are not you but are next to you have got your back. They're telling you something's going wrong and it needs looking at. Can you hear that? Can you take critique? You are surely sophisticated and mature enough to be able to analyze critique that comes in and to parse it into that's emotional and reactionary and, oh, there might be a point there. Let me contemplate that and see if I can take action. In those days of the 60s and the 70s, when we had so much social upheaval from Watergate and the Vietnam War, when the hippies were so different, when civil rights and the emergence of Black American culture, which had always been here, but when it became prominent on television, prominent in social discourses from which it had been ignored or excluded, all of that change left us feeling like we were a quilt of differentness. But what America did with that is that it came up with this beautiful aphorism that conceptually got us together again. And you heard people throughout the 70s saying, we live and let live. The Archie Bunkers went up against the SNCCs and the Black Panthers, went up against the Gay and Lesbian Task Force, and that all mixed together, and they debated and argued about their particular rights to be who they were, what rights they had to tell other people what to do with their opinions and rights. And they butted up against each other like stones in a tumbler until it polished into, you know what? You know what? After all this effort, I think I'm going to settle on live and let live. And that's how the American melting pot learned to be a stew of peas next to carrots and potatoes next to chunks of Lord only knows what kind of meat or meat substitute. The melting pot became unified by learning to live and let live. Can we get there? Can we get there now? I think we can. I think we will. I think it's a watershed moment when people are pushing for what they want. They're trying to grab the gold crayon out of the box before anyone else can, or grab it out of the hand of someone else so they can draw their picture because they're a better artist. I think we need to learn that we can buy more gold crayons and everyone can draw a picture and the teacher will hang them all up on the wall. Okay, I'm overextending the school metaphor. But I do think that we can learn to live and let live. And I would ask all of you to remind everyone, whether they agree with you or disagree with you, remind them that we live and let live. And that's how we get through the damn day without blowing our tops all the time about how dare you, how dare they, etc., etc., etc. Like, yes, it's different. Live and let live. So this is my talk on unity. The other way you can express unity is to buy an orange nun's habit. I don't recommend it. Orange looks terrible on almost every other person. I'm glad to take one for the team. I'll be the one who wears the orange. You don't have to. No, it's okay. You don't have to. You go on wearing your denim and your tan, brown, and dark blue corduroys. I'll just sit here in the dark. Orange. Until the next time.